In a world that hums with relentless noise traffic snarling through city veins, screens flashing urgent demands, voices shouting to be heard, there is a fleeting moment where silence dares to breathe. It's not the hollow absence of sound, but a presence heavy with possibility, like the pause before a storm breaks or a heart opens. Picture Elena, a woman in her late 20s, sitting alone in her small apartment perched on the edge of a sprawling urban maze. The faint glow of her phone paints her face in shades of blue as notifications stack like bricks. Work emails piling up news alerts, screaming chaos texts from friends she hasn't seen in too long. Her pulse quickens, not with purpose, but with a weight she can't name. The city outside her window pulses with life car horns. Laughter the distant wail of a siren, yet inside she feels suspended, as if the world is moving without her. You know this feeling, don't you? That quiet ache, the sense that something essential is slipping away no matter how fiercely you try to hold on. Elena's story is not hers alone. It's a mirror for us all, reflecting the threads of stress disconnection and the unspoken hunger for meaning that weave through our lives. She grew up in a family where faith was a steady rhythm. Sunday Mass prayers before meals, stories of a God who sees and loves. But those rhythms feel distant now, drowned out by deadlines, doubts, and the grind of survival. She's not sure where to turn, or if turning anywhere will matter. Yet in this fragile moment as she sits with her thoughts, something stirs a memory, a whisper, a flicker of hope. It's the kind of moment where the teachings of Christ and the wisdom of Pope Francis find us not in soaring cathedrals or ancient texts alone, but in the raw, unpolished edges of our everyday lives. Let's begin with a truth that Pope Francis has woven into the fabric of his ministry, one that echoes the heart of Christ's life and words: forgiveness is the path to freedom. In his 2016 encyclical, Amoris Laetitia, Pope Francis writes, "Forgiveness is not a sign of weakness, but of strength. It is the courage to see the other not as an enemy, but as a brother or sister." These words are not mere poetry. They are a lifeline for a world fractured by grudges, misunderstandings, and unspoken pain. Christ embodied this truth in his ministry, forgiving those who betrayed him, even as he hung on the cross. "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do," he prayed. Luke 23:34. His voice steady amid agony. These are not relics of a distant past. They are a challenge for today, for Elena, for you, for me. But what does forgiveness mean in a world like ours, where hurts pile up like debts and trust feels like a risk too great to take? Let's walk with Elena, whose life is a canvas of modern struggles. She's a graphic designer, her days filled with client revisions and tight deadlines, her nights haunted by a restlessness she can't shake. But beneath the surface of her routine lies a deeper wound, one she carries like a shadow. 2 years ago, her older brother Marco shattered their bond in a storm of words and betrayal. Marco, charming but troubled, had been battling addiction for years. He'd come to Elena time and again, promising change, borrowing money she scraped together from her modest savings. Each time she believed him, her heart tethered to the brother who'd once taught her to ride a bike and snuck her extra cookies at family dinners. But the promises turned to lies, the money vanished, and the trust eroded. The final fight was a breaking point, a clash over a loan she couldn't afford to give, words hurled like weapons. "You're not my brother anymore," She'd shouted the door, slamming shut behind him. Since then, silence. No calls, no texts, just a void where family once stood. Elena carries this pain like a stone in her chest. It shapes her days, making her quick to bristle at a co-worker's critique, slow to open up to new friends. She doesn't see it yet, but her refusal to forgive Marco is also a refusal to forgive herself for trusting too much, for failing to save him for the anger she can't let go. This is where Pope Francis's wisdom pierces the fog. He reminds us that forgiveness is not about erasing the past or pretending the hurt didn't happen. It's about choosing to release the power that pain holds over us. To forgive, he says, is to open a door to healing, not just for the other, but for ourselves. Christ's example is even more radical. He didn't wait for apologies or amends before offering forgiveness. He gave it freely even to those who turned away. In a world that demands justice before mercy, this is a revolution of the heart. Imagine Elena now sitting at her kitchen table, a single lamp casting a warm pool of light. She's holding a faded photo from a happier time, her and Marco at a family picnic, his arms slung around her shoulders, both of them laughing as if the world could never touch them. The memory stings, but it also softens something inside her. She wonders what would it mean to forgive him. Not to excuse his choices or reopen old wounds, but to let go of the anger that binds her to that moment. She's not ready to face Marco, not yet, but the question lingers like a seed planted in quiet soil. Let's make this practical, because faith, as Pope Francis often says, is not a theory, but a way of living. Forgiveness is a journey, not a single leap, and it begins with small, intentional steps. For Elena, one step might be writing a letter to Marco, not to send, but to release. In it, she could pour out her hurt, her anger, her love, naming the pain that's held her captive. The act of writing is a kind of exorcism, a way to set the burden down. You can try this too. Think of someone who's wounded you, a friend who broke your trust, a colleague who betrayed your confidence, a loved one who walked away. Take a piece of paper and write them a letter you'll never send. Describe what happened, how it felt, and then, if you can write the words, "I forgive you." It doesn't mean the hurt vanishes or the relationship is restored. It means you're choosing to loosen its grip on your heart. Another step is prayer, not as a ritual, but as a conversation with the divine. Pope Francis calls prayer a dialogue with the heart of God, a space where we bring our raw, unfiltered selves. For Elena, this might mean sitting in silence, asking for the strength to forgive. She might pray for Marco, not just for his healing, but for her own. Christ taught us to pray for our enemies. Matthew 5:44. A command that feels impossible until you try it. There's something transformative about lifting up someone who's hurt you. It shifts the heart, even if only a fraction. If prayer feels unfamiliar, start simple. Speak as you would to a trusted friend. God, this hurts. Help me let go. Show me how to see them as you do. These words don't need to be perfect. They need to be honest. But forgiveness isn't just personal. It's a thread that weaves through the fabric of our communities. Pope Francis speaks often of a culture of encounter where we meet others with openness rather than judgment. In a world divided by politics, ideology, and fear, this is a radical call. Think of the conflicts we see daily on X, where strangers clash over beliefs, in workplaces where grudges simmer, in families where old wounds fester. Elena feels this too, not just in her rift with Marco, but in the way she navigates her world. She's noticed how quick she is to judge her boss's sharp tone, a friend's careless comment, even a stranger's politics. It's as if her heart, hardened by one betrayal, has grown wary of all. Here, Christ's parable of the Good Samaritan, Luke 10:25-37, offers a blueprint. The Samaritan didn't just help a stranger. He crossed lines of culture and enmity to do so, seeing the wounded man not as other, but as neighbor. Pope Francis builds on this, urging us to go out to the margins and meet people where they are. For Elena, this might mean softening her edges, listening to a co-worker's story instead of dismissing them or pausing before reacting to a heated post online. It's a small act, but small acts ripple. You can practice this too. The next time you feel the urge to judge or withdraw, pause. Ask yourself, what's their story? What pain might they be carrying? This doesn't mean agreeing with everyone or ignoring harm. It means choosing to see the humanity beneath the conflict. Let's linger with Elena as she begins this journey. It's late now, and she's still at her table, the photo of Marco resting beside a notebook. She's written a few lines, not a full letter, but a start. "I'm so angry," she's scrawled, "but I miss you." The words feel heavy, but also freeing, like the first crack in a dam. She doesn't know where this will lead. Forgiveness feels too big, too far away. But she senses she's moving toward something. Pope Francis reminds us that mercy is a journey, one we walk step by step, trusting God to guide us. Christ, too, walked this path, forgiving not because it was easy, but because it was the way to life. As the city hums outside, Elena feels a flicker of peace, fragile but real. It's not the end of her story, but a beginning. Forgiveness, she's learning, is not about erasing pain, but transforming it, not about weakness, but courage. And in that courage lies a promise that even in a world of noise and fracture, we can find healing connection and hope. This is the invitation to take the first step to open the door to trust that the journey, however daunting, leads to freedom. For Elena, for you, for all of us, the path begins now in this quiet, sacred moment. The city hasn't slowed its pulse. Dawn spills through Elena's apartment window, painting the walls in soft golds and pinks. But the hum of life outside, delivery trucks, rumbling neighbors, shouting greetings. A distant radio blaring feels relentless. She's at her kitchen table again, the same worn photo of her and Marco beside her notebook. The words she scrawled last night. "I'm so angry, but I miss you," stare back at her raw and unfinished. They're not a letter yet, just a fragment, but they've cracked something open inside her. It's been a week since she first sat with the idea of forgiving Marco, her brother, who vanished into the silence of their broken bond. The weight of that silence hasn't lifted, but it feels different now, less like a stone, more like a question. What does it mean to forgive when the hurt still burns? And how do you forgive a world that seems to thrive on division? Elena sips her coffee, its warmth grounding her as her mind drifts. She's been thinking about Pope Francis's words, the ones she stumbled across in a quiet moment online. Forgiveness is a process, a journey of the heart that leads us to encounter the other. The idea of encounter sticks with her. It's not just about her and Marco. It's about the way she moves through the world, her co-workers, her friends, the strangers she passes on the street. She's noticed how guarded she's become, how quick to assume the worst. A coworker's sharp email feels like a personal attack. A friend's canceled plans sting like rejection. It's as if her heart, bruised by Marco's betrayal, has built walls against everyone else. But Pope Francis's call to encounter, rooted in Christ's command to love our neighbor, Mark 12:31, challenges her to see differently, to look beyond the surface, to meet people where they are. Let's walk with Elena as she steps into this new day, carrying the seed of forgiveness planted last night. She's on her way to work, weaving through crowded sidewalks, earbuds in, but no music playing. The city is a symphony of voices, vendors hawking fruit, a busker strumming a guitar, a heated argument spilling out of a cafe. She passes a man sitting on the corner, his cardboard sign reading, "Anything helps." She's seen him before, always averting her eyes, assuming he's just another scam. But today, something stops her. Maybe it's the photo of Marco still vivid in her mind, or maybe it's the echo of Christ's parable of the Good Samaritan, the one her grandmother used to read to her. The Samaritan didn't just see the wounded man. He acted crossing lines of prejudice to help Luke 10:25-37. Elena doesn't have much cash, but she pulls out a crumpled bill and drops it into his cup. "Thank you," he says, his voice rough but kind. She nods, unsure why her throat tightens as she walks away. It's a small act, but it feels like a step toward encounter, toward seeing someone not as other, but as human. At work, Elena's day is a blur of design revisions and client calls, but the moment with the man on the corner lingers. She's starting to notice the walls she's built not just around Marco, but around everyone. Her coworker Sam has been snapping at everyone lately, his emails curt and his tone sharp. Elena's instinct is to fire back to match his edge with her own, but today she pauses. Pope Francis's words about encounter come back. Every person is a story, a mystery, a gift. What's Sam's story? She doesn't know much about him, only that he's been working late. His eyes shadowed with fatigue. Instead of replying to his latest email with her usual defensiveness, she walks to his desk. "Hey, everything okay?" she asks, her voice softer than she planned. Sam blinks, surprised, then sighs. "Rough week," he admits. "My mom's been sick." It's not a deep conversation, but it's a crack in the wall, a moment of connection where there could have been conflict. This is what forgiveness looks like when it ripples outward. It's not just about letting go of old wounds. It's about choosing to approach others with openness, even when it's hard. Christ's life was a masterclass in this. He dined with tax collectors and sinners, not because he condoned their actions, but because he saw their potential for redemption. Matthew 9:10-13. Pope Francis echoes this in his call for a culture of encounter, urging us to build bridges in a world obsessed with walls. For Elena, this means rethinking the way she navigates her relationships, not just with Marco, but with the people she sees every day. It's a shift from judgment to curiosity, from isolation to connection. Let's make this practical. Encounter begins with small, intentional choices. Try this the next time you feel irritated by a rude driver, a dismissive colleague, a stranger's comment. Pause for 3 seconds. Take a breath and ask yourself, what might they be carrying? It's not about excusing bad behavior. It's about seeing the person behind it. Then act. Maybe it's a kind word, a smile, or simply choosing not to escalate. These moments of encounter don't solve everything, but they plant seeds of healing in a fractured world. Elena's trying this, and it's messy. She doesn't always get it right. Yesterday she snapped at a barista who got her order wrong, but she's learning to notice to try again. Back at home that evening, Elena pulls out her notebook. The words from last night are still there, and she adds to them, "I don't know if I can forgive you yet, Marco, but I want to try." It's not a grand gesture, but it's honest. She's beginning to see that forgiveness isn't a destination. It's a path. Pope Francis often speaks of mercy as a process, a slow unfolding of the heart. In his 2015 homily for the Jubilee of Mercy, he said, "Mercy is not a moment, but a movement, a way of walking with others." Elena's walking now, one faltering step at a time. She thinks of Christ's words in the Lord's Prayer, "Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us." Matthew 6:12. It's a reminder that forgiveness is reciprocal. We receive it as we give it, a cycle of grace that frees us all. But the world doesn't make this easy. Elena scrolls through X that night, her phone screen a window into a storm of voices. People argue over politics, faith, everything. Each post a spark, each reply a flame. She sees a thread about addiction, some calling it a choice, others a disease. Her chest tightens as she thinks of Marco. She wants to type something to defend him, but the anger in the comments stops her. It's a microcosm of the division Pope Francis warns against, a world where we shout past each other instead of listening. In his 2020 encyclical, Fratelli Tutti, he writes, "We need to learn the art of dialogue to encounter one another as brothers and sisters, even in our differences." Elena wonders what that would look like, not just online, but in her own life. Could she listen to Marco's story if he ever came back? Could she hear his pain without letting it drown her own? This question pulls her deeper. Forgiveness, she's learning, isn't just about letting go, it's about making space for understanding. Christ modeled this in his encounter with the woman caught in adultery, John 8:1-11. He didn't condone her sin, but he didn't condemn her either. He met her with mercy, offering a path forward. Elena's not ready to face Marco, but she's starting to imagine it. Not a tearful reunion, but a conversation. One where she listens as much as she speaks. She jots this in her notebook. "What would I say to you, Marco? What would you say to me?" It's a question, not an answer, but it's progress. Let's widen the lens. Forgiveness and encounter aren't just personal acts. They're communal, a way to heal the fractures in our world. Pope Francis often speaks of the throwaway culture where we discard not just things, but people. Those who don't fit, who challenge us, who fail. Elena sees this in her city. The homeless ignored, the elderly forgotten, the struggling dismissed. She's been part of it, looking away from the man on the corner, judging Sam's sharpness without asking why. But today, she's trying something new. On her lunch break, she volunteers at a local soup kitchen, something she's never done before. It's awkward at first, serving strangers, making small talk, but then a woman, Maria, shares a story about losing her job and finding hope through a church group. Elena listens, really listens, and feels a spark of connection. It's not forgiveness in the traditional sense, but it's encounter, a step toward seeing others as Christ did. You can try this too. Find one place in your life where you can encounter someone new, a neighbor you've never spoken to, a coworker. you've kept at arm's length, a community group you've been curious about. Show up, not with answers, but with openness. Ask a question, listen to the answer, and let it change you even a little. Pope Francis calls this the joy of encounter, a joy that comes from stepping out of ourselves. Elena's tasting it, and it's shifting her perspective. She's starting to see that forgiving Marco isn't just about their past. It's about how she lives now, how she chooses to meet the world. As the week unfolds, Elena keeps writing in her notebook, each entry a small act of courage. One night she writes about a memory Marco teaching her to dance when she was 10, both of them laughing as they tripped over each other's feet. The memory hurts, but it also reminds her of who he was before addiction stole him. She's not ready to forgive him fully. There's too much pain, too many unanswered questions, but she's holding space for the possibility. Christ's example looms large here. He forgave Peter, who denied him 3 times, John 21:15-19. Not because Peter deserved it, but because love demands it. Elena's learning that forgiveness is an act of love not just for Marco, but for herself. She's also praying more, though. It still feels clumsy. She sits by her window, the city's lights twinkling below, and whispers, "God, help me see Marco the way you do. Help me let go." It's not poetic, but it's real. Pope Francis says prayer is a key that opens the heart, and Elena's starting to feel it, a softening, a lightness. She's not there yet, but she's moving, and that's enough for now. The city keeps humming its noise, a constant backdrop to Elena's quiet revolution. She's beginning to see forgiveness not as a single act, but as a way of being open, merciful, brave. It's changing how she works, how she loves, how she lives. There's a long road ahead. Marco's still out there somewhere, and the world's divisions aren't healing overnight. But Elena's walking, guided by the wisdom of Pope Francis and the example of Christ. And in each step she's finding something new, not just freedom from pain, but the courage to encounter, to connect to hope. This is her story, and ours unfolding in the sacred space between hurt and healing, where forgiveness becomes a song that drowns out the noise. The city's rhythm hasn't softened its pulse, a steady drumbeat beneath the lives it holds. Dusk settles over Elena's apartment, the skyline a mosaic of glowing windows against a fading violet sky. She's at her kitchen table again, the notebook open its pages now, a patchwork of thoughts, memories, and prayers. The photo of her and Marco laughing under a summer sun rests beside a half-empty mug of tea. Her words from last night, "I don't know if I can forgive you yet, Marco, but I want to try," have grown into paragraphs, a dialogue with a brother who exists now only in memory and hope. The act of writing has become a ritual, not just for Marco, but for herself, a way to untangle the knots of anger and longing that have bound her heart. Yet tonight, as the city hums outside, a new question presses against her. What happens when forgiveness meets reality? When the person you're trying to forgive steps back into your life, not as a memory, but as flesh and blood. Elena's journey has been quiet but seismic, a slow shift from isolation to encounter. She's been practicing what Pope Francis calls the art of dialogue, meeting others with openness. Her co-worker Sam, the woman at the soup kitchen, even the man on the corner whose name she learned is Javier. These moments, small as they seem, have softened her edges, teaching her to see others not as threats, but as stories. But Marco is different. He's not a stranger she can meet with fresh eyes. He's the source of a wound that still aches, a reminder of trust broken and promises unkept. The idea of forgiving him has been a safe abstraction, a private act of the heart. Now, though, it's becoming real, and the weight of it feels heavier than ever. This morning, Elena found a message on her phone, a number she didn't recognize. "It's Marco," it read. "I'm in town. Can we talk?" The words hit like a stone dropped into still water ripples spreading through her body. Her first instinct was to delete it, to retreat back into the silence that's protected her for 2 years. But something stopped her. Maybe the notebook, maybe the prayers she's whispered in the quiet, maybe the echo of Christ's words. If you forgive others their trespasses, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. Matthew 6:14. Pope Francis has built on this calling forgiveness a bridge that reconnects us to God and to one another. Elena wants to build that bridge, but the chasm feels so wide, and Marco's return is a test she didn't expect. Let's walk with her as she navigates this new terrain. It's Saturday, and the city is alive with weekend energy, street markets, buzzing music spilling from open windows, families laughing in the park. Elena's on her way to meet a friend, Clara, at a cafe, but her mind is with Marco's message. She hasn't replied yet, unsure what to say, or if she's ready to say anything. Clara, who's known Elena since college, notices the tension in her face as they sit with their coffees. "You okay?" she asks, her voice warm but direct. Elena hesitates, then tells her about the message, the fight, the years of silence. Clara listens, her eyes steady, and when Elena finishes, she says something that lingers. Maybe forgiveness isn't about feeling ready. Maybe it's about choosing to show up even when you're scared. Clara's words echo Pope Francis's teaching in Fratelli Tutti, where he writes, "Forgiveness does not mean forgetting or condoning, but daring to love despite the pain." This daring love is what Christ modeled when he restored Peter after his betrayal, asking, "Do you love me not to shame him, but to rebuild him?" John 21:15-19. Elena's not there yet, but Clara's challenge plants a seed. Forgiveness might not be a feeling, but an action, a choice to step toward the other even when the heart trembles. Elena spends the afternoon wandering the city, her phone heavy in her pocket. She passes a church. Its doors open, and on impulse, she steps inside. The air is cool, scented with wax and old wood, and the silence wraps around her like a shawl. She sits in a pew, her eyes tracing the stained glass windows where light fractures into stories of mercy. Christ washing the disciples' feet, the prodigal son embraced by his father. She thinks of Pope Francis's words from a 2016 homily. God's mercy is like a river always flowing, always ready to wash away our sins if we step into it. Elena wants to step into that river, but Marco's message feels like a current pulling her under. She prays her words, halting God. "I don't know how to do this. Give me the courage to face him. Help me love him again." This prayer is a lifeline, a reminder that forgiveness is not a solo act, but a partnership with the divine. Christ taught us to lean on God's strength, promising, "Ask, and it will be given to you." Matthew 7:7. For Elena, prayer is becoming a space to surrender her fear, to ask for the grace to see Marco, not as the brother who hurt her, but as the brother God still loves. You can try this too. When forgiveness feels impossible, Find a quiet moment and speak your heart, whether to God, the universe, or your own soul. Say, "I'm afraid. Help me take the next step." It's not about having all the answers. It's about trusting the journey. Back at home, Elena pulls out her notebook and writes to Marco again this time, imagining he's sitting across from her. "I'm scared to see you," she writes. "I'm scared you'll hurt me again. But I'm also scared of losing you forever." The words are messy, but they're true, and they lead her to a decision. She types a reply to his message. "Okay. Let's meet. Tomorrow, 3 p.m., at the park by the fountain." She hits send before she can change her mind, her heart pounding. It's not forgiveness, not yet, but it's a step, a choice to show up. As Clara said. The next day, Elena arrives at the park early, the fountain's spray catching the sunlight like scattered diamonds. Families picnic on the grass, kids chase pigeons, and a guitarist strums nearby. She's nervous, her hands fidgeting with the strap of her bag. When Marco appears, he's thinner than she remembers, his eyes shadowed but clear. "Hey," he says, his voice tentative. "Hey," she replies, and for a moment they just stand there, the weight of 2 years between them. They sit on a bench, and Marco speaks first, his words slow, deliberate. "I'm sober now. 6 months. I'm trying, Elena. I know I messed up." She listens, her heart a tangle of hope and caution. He doesn't ask for forgiveness outright, but his presence is a plea, and she feels the pull to respond. This is where Pope Francis's wisdom shines. In Amoris Laetitia, he writes, "Forgiveness is a gift we give not because it's deserved, but because it's needed for them, for us, for the world." Elena doesn't know if Marco deserves her trust, but she knows she needs to let go of the anger that's been her companion too long. She doesn't say, "I forgive you," it's too soon, but she says, "I'm glad you're here." It's enough for now, a bridge not fully built, but started. Let's make this practical. Meeting someone who's hurt you is daunting, but it begins with small choices. If you're facing a similar moment, try this. Before the conversation, write down one thing you hope to say and one thing you hope to hear. It could be, "I want you to know how much this hurt," or "I want to understand why you did it." This clarity grounds you. During the talk, listen as much as you speak. Ask a question. What was going on for you, and let their answer guide you. It's not about resolving everything. It's about opening a door. Elena's doing this with Marco, and it's messy. There's no neat resolution, but it's real. Their conversation isn't long, maybe 20 minutes, but it's a beginning. Marco tells her about rehab, the struggle to stay clean, the guilt he carries. Elena shares a little too, how his absence left a hole, how she's been writing to him. They don't hug or make promises, but they agree to talk again. As Marco walks away, Elena feels a strange mix of relief and unease. Forgiveness, she's learning, isn't a single moment, but a series of choices, each one a step toward healing. The city keeps moving, its noise a constant companion, but Elena's starting to hear something else. A quieter rhythm, one of mercy and possibility. She's been thinking about Pope Francis's call to go to the margins to meet those society overlooks. Marco, in a way, is on the margins now, and so are others in her life. Javier, the man on the corner. Maria from the soup kitchen. Even Sam struggling with his mom's illness. Elena's beginning to see forgiveness as a lens, a way to approach not just personal hurts, but the world's brokenness. This week she volunteers at the soup kitchen again, and this time she brings Clara. They serve meals, laugh with the regulars, and listen to stories of loss and resilience. One man, Thomas, talks about forgiving his estranged daughter, how it freed him even though they never reconciled. His words hit Elena hard, reminding her that forgiveness is as much for the giver as the receiver. Christ's life reflects this. His forgiveness on the cross wasn't just for those who crucified him. It was for all humanity, a gift to heal the world. Luke 23:34. You can practice this too. Find a way to step toward the margins. Volunteer, donate, or simply talk to someone you'd normally pass by. Ask their name, their story, and listen. It's not about fixing their problems. It's about seeing them as Christ did. Elena's finding joy in this, a sense that her small acts are part of something larger, a tapestry of mercy woven through the city. Back at home, Elena's notebook is filling up. She writes about Marco's visit, the park, the hope and fear mingling in her chest. She adds a prayer. God, thank you for bringing him back. Help me keep going. She's also reflecting on the world beyond her apartment. X is still a storm of division, but she's trying to engage differently, reading posts with curiosity, commenting with kindness even when it's hard. Pope Francis's vision of a culture of encounter is taking root not just in her relationships, but in how she sees society. She's starting to believe that forgiveness can heal not just hearts, but communities one choice at a time. The city's lights twinkle outside, a reminder of the lives intersecting in this vast, messy world. Elena's journey is far from over. Marco's return is a beginning, not an end, and the path to forgiveness is winding. But she's walking it, guided by Christ's example and Pope Francis's wisdom, each step a testament to the courage to love, to meet, to heal. This is her story unfolding in the sacred space where pain meets grace, where forgiveness becomes not just a gift, but a revolution, quiet but unstoppable. The city never sleeps, its heartbeat a ceaseless rhythm of motion and sound. Dawn creeps across Elena's apartment, casting long shadows over the familiar clutter, her notebook now thick with pages, the photo of her and Marco, the faint ring of a tea mug on the table. Outside, the world stirs. A delivery van rumbles, a dog barks. The first commuters weave through the streets. Inside, Elena sits in the quiet, her phone glowing with a new message from Marco. Can we meet again? Maybe dinner this week. The words are simple, but they land like a stone in her chest, stirring a mix of hope and dread. It's been a week since their talk in the park, that tentative first step toward rebuilding what was broken. The memory of his voice, rough with regret, but clear with sobriety, lingers. Forgiveness. Elena's learning is not a straight path, but a winding one, each step revealing new layers of pain, grace, and possibility. Since that day by the fountain, Elena has felt a shift, subtle but undeniable. The anger that once defined her thoughts of Marco has softened. Not gone, but less sharp, like a blade dulled by time. She's been writing to him in her notebook, not just about the hurt, but about the brother she remembers, the one who taught her to dance, who shared her love for old movies. She's been praying too, her words less clumsy now, more like a conversation. God, show me how to love him without losing myself, she whispers in the quiet. Pope Francis's words from Fratelli Tutti echo in her mind. Forgiveness is a spark that can set a fire of love in a world grown cold. That spark is burning in Elena, but Marco's invitation to dinner feels like a gust that could either fan it or snuff it out. She's not sure she's ready to sit across from him to face the man he is now, not just the memory she's been wrestling with. Let's walk with Elena as she navigates this new chapter. It's Monday, and the city is a whirlwind of early week energy horns, blaring coffee shops, buzzing screens, flashing ads for things nobody needs. Elena's on her way to work, her mind replaying Marco's message. She's been practicing what Pope Francis calls the art of encounter meeting, others with openness. Javier on the corner. Maria at the soup kitchen. Sam with his quiet struggles. But Marco is different. He's not a stranger she can approach with fresh curiosity. He's a mirror of her past, reflecting both love and loss. Their park conversation was a start, but it was brief, guarded. Dinner means more time, more vulnerability, more risk. Christ's example looms large here. He broke bread with those who would betray him, knowing their flaws, yet choosing to love. Luke 22:14-20. Elena wants that courage, but the thought of opening her heart again feels like standing on the edge of a cliff. At work, Elena's distracted, her designs lackluster. Sam notices his usual sharpness replaced with concern. "You seem off," he says during a coffee break. She hesitates, then tells him about Marco's message, the dinner invite, the fear that's keeping her from replying. Sam listens, then shares something unexpected. "My mom and I didn't talk for years after my dad died. I blamed her for not being there. Took me a long time to realize holding on to that blame was hurting me more than her." He shrugs, almost embarrassed. "We're good now, but it started with a meal. Just showing up." His words hit Elena hard, echoing Clara's advice in the cafe. Forgiveness is about choosing to show up even when you're scared. This idea of showing up is rooted in Pope Francis's vision of mercy as an active force. In his 2016 homily for the Jubilee of Mercy, he said, "Mercy is not passive. It goes forth. It seeks. It heals." Christ embodied this in his ministry, seeking out the lost, the woman at the well, Zacchaeus in the tree, the lepers shunned by all. John 4:1-42, Luke 19:1-10, Luke 17:11-19. For Elena, showing up means saying yes to Marco's dinner, not because she's ready to forgive fully, but because she's ready to try. She pulls out her phone and types, "Dinner sounds good." Thursday, 7 p.m., at Rosa's Rosas is a small Italian place they loved as kids, a neutral ground where memories might soften the tension. She hits send, her heart racing, but there's a quiet strength in the act, a step toward the fire of love Pope Francis speaks of. The days leading to Thursday are a blur of work and reflection. Elena keeps volunteering at the soup kitchen, finding solace in the routine serving plates, swapping stories with Maria, laughing with Thomas, who's become a friend. His tale of forgiving his daughter, even without reconciliation, has stayed with her. Forgiveness isn't about them changing, he told her. It's about you being free. Elena's starting to feel that freedom, not fully, but in glimpses, like when she smiles at Javier and he waves back, or when she prays and feels a warmth she can't explain. She's also been reading Pope Francis's Amoris Laetitia, where he writes, "Forgiveness is a strength that restores hope, a light that pierces the darkness. That light is guiding her, but the darkness of doubt still lingers. What if Marco hasn't changed? What if dinner ends in another fight? Let's make this practical. Facing someone who's hurt you is daunting, but preparation can ground you. Try this before a difficult meeting. Write down 3 things. 1 thing you want to express, 1 thing you hope to understand, and 1 boundary you need to set. For Elena, it might be, I want to tell Marco how much his absence hurt. I want to understand what he's been through, and I won't lend him money again. This clarity helps you stay centered. During the conversation practice, active listening, repeat back what you hear to show you're engaged. Like, it sounds like you were really struggling. It's not about agreeing. It's about creating space for truth. Elena's planning to do this at dinner, to listen to Marco's story while holding her own. Thursday arrives and Elena walks to Rosa's, the city alive with evening energy. Streetlights flickering on couples, laughing, music spilling from bars. The restaurant is warm, its walls lined with photos of old Italy, the air thick with garlic and basil. Marco's already there at a corner table, looking nervous but present. He stands when he sees her, and they share an awkward hug, the kind that holds both distance and longing. They order pasta for her, pizza for him, like old times, and the conversation starts slowly. Marco talks about his recovery, the halfway house he's living in, the sponsor who's keeping him accountable. I know I hurt you, he says, his eyes meeting hers for the first time. I'm not asking you to trust me yet. I just want a chance to show you I'm trying. Elena listens, her heart a storm of emotions. She wants to believe him, but the past is loud. His lies, the money, the door. She slammed. Yet Pope Francis's words come back. Forgiveness is not a feeling, but a decision, a commitment to walk together. She decides to share her truth. When you left, it broke something in me. She says, her voice steady but soft. I felt like I failed you. I'm trying to let that go, but it's hard. Marco nods, his eyes glistening. I failed you too, he says. I'm sorry. It's not a magic fix, but it's a moment of raw honesty, a crack where light can enter. They talk for hours longer than Elena expected. It's not all heavy. There's laughter too, memories of their childhood, silly arguments over who got the last slice of pizza. By the time they part, there's no grand resolution, but there's a promise to keep talking, to meet again. Elena walks home under a starless city sky, feeling lighter, not because the pain is gone, but because she's carrying it differently. Christ's forgiveness was like this, offered not to erase the past, but to transform the future, as when he restored the woman caught in adultery with "Go and sin no more." John 8:11. Elena's starting to see that forgiving Marco is also about freeing herself to live again. This encounter ripples outward. At work, Elena's more patient, her designs sharper. She's been mentoring a new intern, Lila, who's shy but talented. Instead of snapping when Lila misses a deadline, Elena sits with her asking, "What's going on?" It turns out Lila's juggling school and a sick parent. Elena shares a little about her own struggles, and they bond, another small act of encounter. Pope Francis calls this building a culture of mercy, where every interaction becomes a chance to heal. Elena's living it not perfectly, but persistently. She's also deepening her commitment to the margins. At the soup kitchen, she's helping organize a clothing drive inspired by Thomas's stories of resilience. She's learning names, histories, Maria's love for poetry, Javier's dream of being a chef. These connections are changing her, showing her that forgiveness isn't just about letting go of grudges, but about embracing others as part of a shared human family. Christ's parable of the Good Samaritan, Luke 10:25-37, is her guide, urging her to see everyone as a neighbor, no matter their story. Let's make this practical for you. To live forgiveness in your community, try one act of outreach this week. Join a local group. Help a neighbor or volunteer, even for an hour. Before you go set an intention, I want to listen to someone's story. Afterward, reflect. How did it feel to connect Elena's finding that these acts, small as they are like pebbles in a pond, their ripples spreading far? You can start where you are with what you have. Elena's notebook is a testament to her growth. She writes about the dinner Marco's apology, the laughter that surprised her. She adds a prayer, God, thank you for this step. Keep teaching me to forgive, to love, to show up. She's also engaging with the world differently. On X, where division still reigns, she's posting less but listening more, sharing stories of hope like Thomas's when she can. Pope Francis's vision of a fraternity of mercy is taking shape in her life, a belief that forgiveness can heal not just hearts, but societies. The city's noise is ever present, but Elena's hearing a new song within it, one of grace, connection, and courage. Marco's back in her life, not as the brother she lost, but as someone new, someone she's choosing to know. The road ahead is uncertain. Forgiveness is a journey, not a destination, but she's walking it, guided by Christ's love and Pope Francis's wisdom. Each step is a spark lighting a fire that warms her heart and the world around her. This is her story, ours, unfolding in the sacred dance of hurt and healing, where forgiveness becomes a revolution, quiet, fierce, and alive. The city exhales into twilight, its skyline a tapestry of lights flickering against a deepening indigo sky. Elena's apartment is a small island of warmth, the glow of a single lamp pooling over her kitchen table. Her notebook lies open its pages, a chronicle of a journey that began with a single question. What does it mean to forgive? The photo of her and Marco, once a painful relic, now feels like a quiet promise. It's been a month since their dinner at Rose's, that fragile bridge of words and memories that marked a turning point. Marco's presence in her life is no longer a shadow, but a tentative reality. Weekly calls, a coffee here, a walk there. The wounds of their past haven't vanished, but they're healing stitch by stitch through choices made in courage and grace. Tonight, as the city hums its endless song, Elena sits with a deeper truth. Forgiveness is not an end, but a beginning, a way of living that transforms not just her heart, but the world around her. Elena's journey has been a quiet revolution, one sparked by Pope Francis's call to build a culture of mercy and rooted in Christ's radical command to love without limit. John 13:34-35. The dinner with Marco was a milestone, not a finish line. His apology, her willingness to listen, their shared laughter over old memories, these were steps, not solutions. Since then, they've been navigating the delicate dance of rebuilding trust. Marco's sobriety, now 7 months strong, is a fragile victory, and Elena's learning to celebrate it without ignoring the past. She's also learning to forgive herself for the guilt she carried for the years she spent believing she could have saved him. Pope Francis's words from Amoris Laetitia resonate. Forgiveness is a gift we give ourselves, a liberation from the chains of resentment. Elena's tasting that liberation, and it's changing everything. Let's walk with her as she steps into this final chapter. It's a crisp autumn evening, and the city is alive with seasonal energy leaves crunching underfoot. Street vendors selling roasted chestnuts, children laughing in scarves and mittens. Elena's on her way to a community event at the soup kitchen, a fundraiser she helped organize with Maria and Thomas. The clothing drive she started has grown into something bigger, a network of volunteers' donations pouring in stories of lives touched. Tonight's event is a celebration, but also a call to action, a chance to share what she's learned about forgiveness and encounter. She's nervous, her notes scribbled in her notebook, but there's a fire in her chest, a sense that this moment matters. The soup kitchen is transformed, strung with fairy lights, tables laden with food donated by local restaurants. Maria greets Elena with a hug, her eyes bright. "You did this," she says, gesturing to the crowd. Volunteers, regulars, strangers, drawn by flyers and word of mouth. Thomas is there too, his smile wide as he hands out programs. Javier, the man from the corner, is helping serve drinks, his chef's dream now, a part-time gig at a nearby diner, thanks to a connection Elena made. The room buzzes with voices, laughter, and the clink of glasses, a microcosm of what Pope Francis calls fraternity, a world where everyone has a place at the table. Elena steps to the microphone, her heart pounding. She's not a public speaker, but she's been asked to share her story, to explain why this work matters. She takes a breath and begins, her voice steadying as she speaks. "A year ago, I was angry at my brother, at myself, at the world. I thought holding on to that anger protected me, but it was a cage. Forgiveness set me free, not because it was easy, but because it was a choice. A choice to see my brother as human, to see all of you as family." She talks about Marco, their rift, their slow reconciliation. She quotes Christ's words, "Love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you." Matthew 5:44, and Pope Francis's challenge to go to the margins. This place, she says, is where the margins become the center, where we meet each other not as strangers, but as neighbors. The crowd listens, some nodding, others wiping tears. Elena shares practical steps she's learned, writing letters to release pain, praying for strength, listening to someone's story without judgment. She talks about the ripple effect, how forgiving Marco changed how she works, loves lives. Forgiveness isn't just personal, she says. It's a revolution. It builds communities, heals cities, changes the world. As she steps down, the applause is warm, but it's the hugs that follow. Maria's, Thomas's, even Javier's that tell her she's touched something real. This is what Christ meant when he said, "Where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there am I among them." Matthew 18-20. This is Pope Francis's vision of a culture of encounter made flesh. Let's make this practical. You can start this revolution where you are. Try organizing one small act of community, a potluck, a book club, a cleanup day. Invite someone unexpected, a neighbor you barely know, a coworker who seems distant. Set a goal to learn one person's story. Afterward, reflect. How did it feel to connect Elena's learned that these acts, however small, are like seeds growing into something greater? You can plant them too, trusting they'll bear fruit in time. Back at home, Elena's notebook captures the night's energy. She writes about the fundraiser, the faces, the stories. She adds a memory of Marco, who called earlier to wish her luck. "I'm proud of you," he said, and for the first time in years, she believed him. Their relationship isn't perfect. There are still boundaries, moments of doubt, but it's alive, and that's enough. She's also reflecting on the broader world. X is still a storm of division, but she's engaging differently, sharing posts about the soup kitchen, amplifying voices like Thomas's and Maria's. She's not changing the world, but she's changing her corner of it. And that's where revolutions begin. Elena's been diving deeper into Pope Francis's teachings, especially his 2020 encyclical Fratelli Tutti, where he writes, "Forgiveness and reconciliation are not signs of weakness, but of power, a power that comes from God's love. This power is what drives her now." She's been mentoring Lila at work, helping her balance school and family, and their bond has grown into a friendship. She's also supporting Sam, whose mom is recovering by covering shifts so he can visit her. These acts of mercy are forgiveness in action, not just letting go of grudges, but building something new. Christ's life was a testament to this, from healing the sick to forgiving sinners, always pointing to a kingdom where love reigns. Luke 7:36-50. One evening, Elena meets Marco for coffee, a routine they've settled into. The cafe is cozy, its windows steamed from the autumn chill. They talk about small things. Movies work the weather, but also deeper ones. Marco shares a letter he wrote in rehab, one he never sent, apologizing for the pain he caused. "I didn't think you'd want to hear it," he says. Elena's quiet for a moment, then says, "I'm glad you're telling me now. It's not a grand moment, but it's sacred. A reminder of Christ's encounter with the repentant thief on the cross, promising paradise in a single breath." Luke 23:43. Elena's learning that forgiveness is a series of these moments, each one a choice to love. Let's make this practical again. If you're rebuilding a relationship, try this. Share one honest moment each time you meet. It could be a memory, a feeling, or a hope. For Elena, it's telling Marco about the fundraiser, how his call gave her courage. For you, it might be telling a friend why their support matters. These moments build trust, not all at once, but over time. Also set one boundary to protect yourself, like Elena's rule not to lend money. It's not about distrust, it's about creating space for healing. Elena's faith has deepened too. Her prayers are a daily rhythm, not always eloquent, but always real. God, thank you for Marco, for this community, for showing me how to forgive. She prays one night, the city's lights twinkling outside. She's been attending Mass again, not every Sunday, but often finding solace in the rituals her grandmother taught her. Pope Francis says prayer is the breath of the soul, and Elena feels it sustaining her, giving her strength to face the world's noise. You can try this too. Find one moment each day to pause, maybe a prayer, maybe a breath, and say, "Help me love today." It's a small act, but it anchors you. The city's challenges haven't vanished. Elena still sees division on X in the news and heated conversations at work. But she's responding differently, inspired by Pope Francis's call to be artisans of peace. She started a blog, a simple page, where she shares stories from the soup kitchen, reflections on forgiveness, quotes from Christ and Pope Francis. It's small, but it's growing with comments from strangers who found hope in her words. One reader, a woman named Sarah, writes, "Your story about your brother helped me call my dad after 10 years. Thank you." Elena cries when she reads it, realizing her journey is touching lives she'll never meet. This is the heart of forgiveness, a spark that spreads a fire that warms. Christ's ministry was a flame igniting hearts with love and mercy from the Sermon on the Mount to the cross. Matthew 5-7, John 19:30. Pope Francis carries this flame, urging us to be missionaries of mercy. Elena's a missionary now, not in a distant land, but in her city, her community, her heart. She's not perfect. There are days she doubts, days she snaps at Lila or scrolls X too long, but she's trying, and that's the point. Forgiveness, she's learned, is a lifelong commitment, a daily choice to choose love over fear, connection over division. As winter approaches, Elena plans a holiday gathering at the soup kitchen, inviting Marco, Clara, Sam, Lila, and the regulars. It's a vision of the kingdom Christ promised, where all are welcome, where mercy reigns. She writes in her notebook, "Forgiveness isn't the end of the story. It's the beginning of a new one." The city keeps singing its song, chaotic, beautiful, alive. And Elena's voice is part of it now, a melody of grace that drowns out the noise. This is her story, ours, a testament to the courage to forgive, to encounter, to love. It's a revolution that starts in the heart and spreads to the world, one spark, one step, one life at a time.